There we go. I'm gonna put it in tow haul automatic, so it automatically sets. So very cool. We're ready to go. Hey guys, Barry at CTech-review. Today, we're gonna do a 1,000-mile towing comparison of the Lincoln Navigator versus the 2025 Ram RHO. I'm curious to see how the 3.5 high output compares to the high output Hurricane. Let me show you what we got here in the trailer. So we got this thing pretty loaded out. It's squatting a little bit right now. We're not running any auxiliary airbags in the rear, as well as we don't have any weight distribution. Trailer's loaded with the side-by-side. We're sitting square. So far, the towing has been pretty good. What I'm looking for in this trip is to see fuel economy, stability, and how this thing shifts. And I think we'll be pretty surprised on the temperatures this thing tows at versus the high output Hurricane. We're sitting about 600-700 pounds. We're gonna reset our trip now. We did 8.9 for that first leg, not too bad. But now we're gonna reset this. 30-second method here. All right, 21.278 gallons. Okay, so computer 8.1, hand calculated 7.7 for our first main fill up. We'll see what we get now for the next fill up. Let's do our last fill up here, 17.9 gallons, 30-second method. There we go, 18.303. Okay, last fill up, 211 miles, computer 12.1, hand calculate 11.55. We did about 40 miles with no trailer in this, so that kind of bumped the fuel numbers up a little bit. All right, I thought I would share a little clip of us about to go across the Mackinac Bridge. If you're not familiar with this in Michigan, this is the bridge that separates the lower peninsula to the upper peninsula, and it's a pretty neat thing. For Michiganders, it's something kind of neat to get to go across this bridge. And I can't remember exactly. I can't remember if it's 5 miles long or 7 miles long, but it's a heck of a bridge. And I know a lot of people are not a huge fan of going across it because the fast lane is actually a graded lane once you get to the center part of it to allow airflow to kind of go through. And some people find it a little bit sketchy pulling a trailer across, but we've been doing it for 20 years and never had an issue, but it is just a beautiful scene to get the opportunity to see the bridge and to see the size of Lake Michigan and to see the beautiful wonders of Lake Superior in the Upper Peninsula. Oh, buddy.
Hey, Jim, can you eat them?
Got some wolf prints down here. Hey, you guys hear that? Yelping coyotes? Look at these. Two of them running down the trail here. How awesome this is. All right, last fill up. We just let the gas pump after click, wait 30 seconds, repump, and then this is the final fill. 26.98 gallons. Okay, 207.5 miles, 26.98 gallons. Let's see hand calculated. Okay, so computer 8.2, hand calculated 7.7 miles per gallon. Okay, so this is us now going up the Zilwaukee Bridge on I-75 headed north. It's not a huge bridge, but it does kind of give you a little bit of indication that what can the 3.5 do. And you just see it just downshifted. You can see now we're hovering about 2,600 RPMs to get up the Zilwaukee Bridge. One of the reasons I like sharing this scene is not everybody lives out west and is traveling through the mountains. Maybe they live in the Midwest, or maybe they don't go through such extreme towing. This is more than just flat landing, but nothing crazy extreme. No problem at all. 70, 72 miles an hour. I think that was in 8th gear going up, so we're talking 2,600, 2,500 RPMs. Not bad, easy for the 3.5 high output. So for the total trip, we did about 9.2 miles per gallon. Based on the other fill-ups, we could say that's probably about 8.7. So I'd say it's about half to 1 mile per gallon less than the RHO. The other thing I was going to show you is on this last tank of fuel, We're at 8.7 miles per gallon. So what's the summary now after doing the Ram 1500 RHO versus the Lincoln Navigator with the 3.5 high output? Back to back, weeks to weeks, similar trips. This got about a mile per gallon, I think, approximately. I gotta go look back, and I'm gonna show some different clips of different trips. We've did about, oh man, we've done at least 5,000 miles with this trailer this year already. And we've done now 1,000 miles with the Lincoln on this. And you might say, what's really the comparison here? I think the real comparison is for the person that's got a 3-row SUV full size, say it's a Lincoln, Expedition, Yukon, Suburban, and you wanna go to an RHO, how does it tow? Well, in full fairness, the fuel economy is pretty darn similar to the 3.5 high output, which would be in a Gen 3 Raptor or Expedition or Navigator. Performance though, completely different. Here's what I mean. The 3.0 has so much stronger mid and high range torque. Like when I'd have to stomp on it to pass someone with this versus my RHO, it felt a lot stronger in the RHO. As expected, it's 90 horsepower more, and I don't know what the torque difference is, 20, 30, 50 pound-feet of torque, not much there. Engine braking, I'm gonna give the nod to the 3.5 high output. It is a little bit stronger on the 3.5 high output than the 3-liter, but we're also talking such a small amount that it's not a big deal. On the highway, 8-speed versus the 10-speed. Different trade-offs. I would say out of the gate, right from a dead dig, I think the 8-speed's a little stronger. Going down the highway, I like that you got a few more gears to kind of select from with the 10-speed. But overall, I found they both wanted to settle into that 22 to 2400 RPM range, which would be like 7th gear in the 8-speed, or like 8th gear in the 10-speed, almost the same RPMs. When I look at engine braking, cooling temps, fuel economy, everything, they're very similar. The one thing that I don't like about these 10-speeds is the temperatures they run at. We were seeing 220 to 230 degrees towing temps just going down the highway, 70 miles an hour, 80 degrees outside. That's hot in my opinion, and we're not pushing it very hard. This is a 5,000 pound trailer, not very much. So I like the ZF Trans in that regard because it would be running about 187 degrees. So that's where I would like long term. I have to believe the 8-speed and not seeing as much heat in the coolant and the trans temps. It just seems like the fluids would last a little longer and maybe less maintenance. But regardless, I think it was kind of fun to kind of tow both these things back to back and just kind of see which one's better. Man, the luxury towing and the road noise is so nothing on the Lincoln. I just love towing with this thing just because of that. Stability wise, really, really tough to say because I think the back end of the RHO with the airbags felt more stable than this, but the front end on this felt a little more stable, and it makes sense because you don't have that big wallowy suspension that the RHO has with all the extended travel suspension. All right, now to the next round of towing, and we're gonna be comparing it with the RHO versus the Navigator. We got the travel trailer back from General RV. Let's see what this looks like. And while I pump, you'll see this arm start coming up. See it raising up? So we've already got about 1200 PSI. There we go. Okay, we don't have the system dialed in quite yet, and I can tell we didn't even adjust the shank. This is off the last truck. We're gonna raise the nose up a little bit so it'll bring it up because we can tell that we're lower in the front than in the rear. So we'll see how easy this is. We'll put the block back underneath. By the way, you like my homemade wood blocks? We had some construction projects, drill some holes in it, throw some 550 cord. Cheap, stable, and works. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we've got this enough that we need to just take pressure off this whole thing. One-handed, there we go. Weight distribution's disconnected. Drop it back down. And I'm just going to now remove the shank here and raise it up an inch or two. How easy this is. Pop this pin here, pop that bottom, and we're gonna move it up one notch. Okay, we raised it up 2 spots. Let's drop this thing down. See if we can get it on now. There we go, one-handed again. Put our chains through. Now let's drop it down and see what it looks like. It's squatting pretty good. Probably got about 1,000 pounds of tongue weight. So now we're actually going to put some weight distribution on this and see how much we transfer. We're gonna pull it out here a second. You can still see it squatting a little bit in the rear, but it's definitely better. We'll pull it out here in a little bit more level surface and see how it is. Trailer setup's about 8,200 pounds. I think this is like 92 to 9,500 pound tow rating with the Navigator. You can still see it squatting a little bit in the rear. I'll play around with the weight distribution, but most importantly, the trailer is level. We'll see how it is stability wise. Let's see what our pressure is at. Just shy moving it around. So we'll play with that and see if we need to increase as well. So we got the weight distribution, I think, all set up. Trailer looks level. Yeah, she's squatting a little bit. It kind of just shows you how well the RHO, especially with the airbags, just feels solid. I'll be real curious to see what this trailer tows like behind the Navigator. We're gonna reset the fuel economy. I'm looking for stability, transmission. We know the trans-cal on this thing runs a lot hotter than the RHO with the ZF transmission. Got all our hitching set up correctly. One of the cool things about the Navigator, it automatically realizes the trailer is connecting. So we will reset our fuel economy. I'm really curious to see how it does for this trip. Got the trailer picked back up at General RV in Birch Run. Thankfully, they were able to get the trailer fixed for us. Okay, so we're 69 miles an hour right now. This thing is hovering right at about, let's say 2,400 RPMs. Let me see if I can force the gear. Yeah, so it was in 8th gear. Now it's in 8th gear. It cannot hold 9th gear. That's at 2,000. Let's see 10th gear. Okay, it's about 1,800. Nope, we're losing RPMs, and we're on a flat. Let me see if I can hold 9th gear. Man, it's barely. So it really wants 8th gear. So about 2,300 RPMs, which is not too different. Look at these trans temps. This thing's just gonna heat up more too. You just wait. We're only a few miles into this. I bet you this thing sees 220 degrees on the trans temp. But stability wise, feels solid. I mean, I don't think there's much different from the RHO as far as stability. I mean, we're going on a straight road right now. Not a ton of wind. I'd say 5-10 mile per hour, but it feels okay. There we go. Trans temps now at 216. We're averaging right at the moment, just going down the road about 7. Let's see where we're at. We've creeped up to 7.7 miles per gallon. Look at the trans temps, 223 Fahrenheit. That is just wild. We're going 70 miles an hour, 65 to 70. Not really any headwinds, not really any tailwinds, not climbing anything, and it runs that hot. All right, let's see what we got. Fuel economy, 7.9 miles per gallon over the 52-mile trip. Okay, so what do I think after doing the 50-mile trip with the high output 3.5 EcoBoost? 450 horse versus the Hurricane at 540. Overall torque is very similar, but the torque is a little bit different. This comes on a little bit lower RPM. What I would tell you is it is noticeable that the 3.0 high output Hurricane makes better power than the 3.5 high output EcoBoost. With that all being said, they're both great at just different things. Fuel economy, surprisingly, this thing's a pretty aerodynamic vehicle, and it's rated at 4 miles per gallon better on the highway than the RHO. But in actuality, towing, this thing actually got 1 mile per gallon less than the RHO with the high output Hurricane. Trans temps on this thing is like 35, I got to confirm, 35, 40 degrees hotter in the 10-speed. It shifts more too. You can tell this thing wants to jump between 9th and 7th gear. I wish it would just stay in 8th gear. You can manually do that, but I also like it to just work automatically. Stability wise, this thing felt great. I would say as far as this versus the RHO, very, very similar. Engine braking, a slight nod to this, to the high output EcoBoost, but we're talking like on a grand scale of engine braking between the high output Hurricane and the high output EcoBoost. On a scale of 1 to 100, the Cummins is 100. It's the best. I would put the high output EcoBoost at about a 20, and I'd put the high output Hurricane at about a 15. So, I mean, it's still on the scale. They're not great for engine braking, but trans, I think, felt way better in the RHO. Temperatures lower in the RHO. Fuel economy better in the RHO. Stability wise, both very similar. So we've now conducted 2 different towing tests with the high output Hurricane versus the high output EcoBoost medium-sized trailer and a maxed out weight. What's my thoughts? Pros and cons. If you're a Ford guy, you're gonna like the 3.5 high output EcoBoost more. If you're a Ram guy, you might like the high output Hurricane a little bit more. Me personally, I kind of like the Hurricane a little bit more in that mid-range, and it's got so much more on tap. That's the big thing. Fuel economy, it's wild. I don't know how to explain this. This high output Hurricane, for me personally, for fuel economy towing, it's phenomenal. It's one of the best gas towing engines I've used. For me and my elevation, I think the 3.0 high output Hurricane has been incredible for fuel economy and performance. Not seen any issues so far with it. Trans feels great, engine feels great, performance, fuel economy, awesome. I love it for a gas engine. It's been great. Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. We got more RHO stuff to come. Thanks for watching.